Hi folks, my perspective here. In this video clip I want to have a look at time in relation to the Earth's spin and as it orbits around the Sun. And we'll see that what we are taught through the education system doesn't work. So first, keep in mind that if you start at this position, after one 360-degree rotation, you always end up facing the same direction. This is important to remember. In other words, if it's 12 midday and you do one rotation on the Earth, after 360-degree rotation, you face the exact same direction. And as the Earth orbits around the Sun on its path, after each 360 rotation, you face the same direction. In other words, after every 24 hours, you face the same direction. It's important to understand that. It's one 24-hour rotation is a 360 rotation. So if you start out at midday, right, and as the Earth rotates and orbits around the Sun, your position will always be in the exact same position after each 24-hour rotation, and so on as you orbit around the Sun. So in other words, if you started at 12 midday, after 180-degree rotation or after 180 days, you'd still face the same direction. Your time now should be 12 midnight. So let's look at that. There's the Sun. The Earth rotates. It's at an angle of 66.6 degrees. If you started out at 12, after each 24-hour or 360 rotation, you always face the same position that you started from. So 12 o'clock midday becomes sunrise, and 6 sunset now becomes midday, only after 3 months. And this will continually change. Your watch and your time that you were setting would have to continue to change. And after 180 days, you'd be on the opposite side of the Sun. Remember, you are fixed on the same position on the Earth, right? Well, time would swap over. Midday and midnight would swap over. So they'll tell you, no, this is because of sidereal days and solar days. Well, you cannot explain away this problem of midnight and midday swapping. Now let's do the same with the moon. The same issue, we face the same issue with the moon. If the moon does one 360 orbit, it will always end up in the same position where it was at in its orbit path around the Earth. And we have the same issue as we have the same light source lighting the moon and lighting the Earth. The moon on its path around the Sun, in its orbit around the Earth, will always end up being in its same position in relation to you. You should see it. In other words, for every 27 days the moon does one orbit, you do 27 spins on the Earth for that same orbit. You'd always end up in the same position with the moon, and the moon's phases should swap over, and they do not. You cannot escape this problem. So for example, on the top, if you started in that position, right, it would be midday, you would see a new moon, and if you looked up, you would see from Earth the moon above you and the Sun above the moon. And at the And at the bottom image, 6 months later, you looked up, you'd see the moon, and the sun would be below you. Another problem is that I'll tell you that you don't feel the spin of the earth because of the speed of the earth is constant in its elliptical path around the sun. Well, this is impossible. For its speed to be the same is impossible because your time is constant. In other words, as the sun was orbiting, as the earth was orbiting around the sun, it would speed up as it got to the narrower bits on this the ellipse, and as it got to the wider bits on the ellipse, well, it would slow down. Because your watch, your time, the speed on your clock is constant. Day in, day out, month in, month out. So it doesn't work. It's impossible. To illustrate, if I showed you this image and I said, well, to take this image I used the camera on the left. Now the only way you're going to find out how that camera works if you pick that camera up and use it and try and take images. And as you do, you start realizing, well, wait a minute, this camera is just, it's a empty case. It's a plastic display. Nothing in it works. Then you'll realize, well, it's impossible for this fake camera to take their beautiful image. And it's the same with the spinning ball earth. On the outside it looks like it may work, but when you work with it and you look at it, you realize that it's an illusion. It's fake. So I hope you can use this information, and cheers and thanks for watching.